Hi, if you are watching this video, it means that you're interested in potentially working the community habilitation job with our son, Max. And the reason I wanted to make a video instead of just doing an interview for the first step of the process is because we have interviewed quite a few people before, and I think it's a lot of information to process all at once. And so has been happening is people will take all of the information in, agree to the job on the spot, and then they go home. And I think after they've had time to really kind of mull through things, they either, call me 2 weeks later and say it's not a good fit for them, or they'll agree to the job and then they just don't show up for the first day of work. And so I'm not saying that would be you if you are watching this video, but I do feel bad because it is a lot to process and I don't want to put anyone on the spot. So I'm going to explain the job, the technical aspects, and then also a little bit about our son. Excuse the background. I had to try and find someplace quiet in the house. I'm going to do all of that first. So take it all in, think about it, and if you are still interested in the job after all of that, then please do give us a call and we can set up a time to meet and you can meet our son and then we can start the process if you're interested. Okay, so the job, sorry about that. The job is called Community Habilitation, and basically you would come and you would work with our son Max and just go out places in the community. You would go, let's say, shopping, out to lunch, to the movies, a lot of different fun leisure activities. Or you could stay in our house and you would practice leisure activities here. So playing games, pretend play, arts and crafts. What makes this a little bit different than just like a babysitting or a respite position is that Max would be actively working towards becoming more independent in the community outings or in the daily life skills here. And he's also actively working to just kind of expand his horizons and enjoy more leisure activities. So the job pays $27 an hour, and because he would be going into the community sometimes as well as staying here, there is driving involved. So you do need to have a clean driving record and you have to be okay with driving him kind of out and about around town. There is, so it's $27 an hour, and there is mileage reimbursement on top of that. So I'm not 100% sure what that is, but it's so many cents per mile that you get back, and that will help reimburse you for gas. And then in addition to all of that, there is reimbursement for whatever activity that you do. So, and really it's more reimbursement for me. So I will give you all the money that you need. For example, if you go see a movie, I would give you the money for your ticket and Max's ticket, but there is record keeping involved. So you do need to record your miles so that way you can get reimbursed for gas. And then you have to keep all the receipts, because then you would give me the receipt and then I have the opportunity to get reimbursed, not for Max's portion, but for your ticket. What else? Okay, so there's two other technical aspects. One is it's 20 hours per week, but you don't have to sign on for all 20 hours. So Max is eligible for 20 hours of this service, but you could take 2 hours a week, you could take 15 hours a week. I mean, it's really up to you. I would just ask that you kind of think about how many hours you're interested in, because we are looking for multiple people to cover the full 20 hours. So it's about 20 hours a week. The hours are very flexible. Max is in school and he does, like, we call it summer session, but he does summer school as well. So he's involved in those things until 2:45 in the afternoon, and it's the same during the school year. He's done at 2:45. After that, it's free game, and there's also weekends are also an option. So you can make your own hours. It's very, very flexible in that way. It should be a good fit for you and feel really comfortable for you as well as for him. So, you would want to think about the hours that you're interested in. Let's see what else. And the other thing is, when you're interviewing, the interview process is primarily like to see if it's a good fit for you as well as for Max. That would be with me, and that's part of what this video is about. But if you do decide after you meet with us that this is a good fit and you're interested in the job, then the hiring process is with a company called AIM. So the hiring process is very simple. It's going to sound like a lot because it's multiple steps, but it is very simple. It involves filling out 3 or 4 pages of paperwork, kind of like any application, but that paperwork is mostly just so that they can issue you a paycheck, because the paycheck comes directly from them. So it's a couple pages of paperwork. There is a point where I think that you have to show, you go on a Zoom call and you have to show your passport. If you don't have a passport, that's okay. Just let me know and I'll find out what other form of identification they will accept. And that's just so that they can verify that you are who you say you are. So you have to show that. There is another step where you have to get fingerprinted. Anybody who works with children goes through a fingerprint process. And then once all of that is good to go, then you're officially hired and you're on board. They will ask for references, so they'll check your references. And then the final piece of the puzzle for them is, it's a quick training, but the training is more about the pay system. So instead of like a time clock where you punch in and out, there's an online system where you go in and you write down the hours that you worked, and then you write down what you worked on with Max. It's really very simple. It's like 1 or 2 sentences. For example, you might say, okay, I worked on this date between the hours of 9 and 11 a.m. and we went grocery shopping to work on independently walking through a grocery store. And that would be it. But there is a video that you do have to, they require that you watch it in order for you to be actively in the system. And I think that's really to protect you so that they can ensure you know how to input the time so that you can get paid. Okay, so that was a lot all at once, but that's pretty much the job. The other portions of the job that I'm going to talk about now have to do with Max, and it's really more about like what you'll be doing while you're with him. So I did mention it's community habilitation. Our goals for Max right now are really not just teaching him like how to be more independent in community skills, but we want to kind of open up his world a little bit. So right now Max is he's 12 years old. He's got a diagnosis of autism and anxiety. He has a few other diagnoses you might want to be aware of. He does have a speech and language delay that's pretty significant. He is verbal and he talks a lot, so you might not notice the speech and language delay right away, but it's good to be aware the fact that he doesn't always understand everything that's happening. So that's good to know, just so that you can give him sometimes a little bit more explanation. Never assume that he knows what you're talking about. So I'm going to give you a quick example of that. You might say, oh, Max, we're going to go bowling this afternoon. Max might not understand what bowling is. So then you would just want to give him a little background if it's something he's not done before. Now, that particular example, Max has been bowling, so he does know that one, but you might run into some things where he just doesn't understand. So let's say you go to Bowden Park and you go to the splash pad. Max is not going to know what a splash pad is, so you might just want to explain what that is. So it's just good to give him a little bit of background and to be aware. So let's see, he's got the diagnosis of autism, he's got an intellectual disability, the speech and language delay, the motor coordination disorder that just means he's very sturdy, he is very solid, he can run and jump and hop, he can do all those things. He has a hard time kind of coordinating his body movements if they're new. So he can buckle his own seatbelts, but that took a lot of practice, that whole kind of pulling something across his body and clicking it. That's just good to know if you're doing anything, like if you go outside and he's trying to ride he's got like an adult tricycle, you would want to be aware of that because it could be tricky for him to kind of get that motion down. Trying to think of what those are pretty much the diagnoses that it's important to know. And I don't think I mentioned it, he does have anxiety. So Max is really very sweet, he's very silly, he's pretty chill, but you might see some of the anxiety creep in if he's doing something new. And Max also has restricted interests. So he's very interested in trains, dinosaurs, and cars, but he's not interested, well, and YouTube and his iPad, but he's not interested in a whole lot else. And it's good to know that because we are not trying to change Max in any way. It's completely fine that those are his interests. But one thing that Max does want for himself is more peer relationships. He is so interested in hanging out with other kids. He wants to play. He talks about having sleepovers all the time. Like, he wants to be around other kids so, so bad. But it can get tricky because not all kids, especially not all kids his age, are interested in trains and dinosaurs and cars. And so without the ability to go out and be okay doing other things like mini golf and bowling and movies, or even being home, without like the flexibility to be able to play a game or do arts and crafts, it can limit his opportunities to be with other kids, because their Max is like, I want to play. And the other kids are like, great, but I don't want to play trains and dinosaurs. And what typically happens is Max will follow them around. Play with me, play with me, play with me. But because they're not interested in doing what he wants to do, you know, then that relationship can kind of fall apart. So we're trying to teach him like reciprocal. Like, of course you get to play trains and dinosaurs with your peers, but you also have to be interested, or not interested, willing. You have to be willing to do things that they want to do as well. So that's really part of this. Like, we're really trying to bring fun and excitement and flexibility to Max so he can then kind of take that skill and build his peer relationships. So all of that is really important for you to know, because the more fun that you bring to the table, the more enthusiasm, the more excitement, the more energy, I think the more that he's going to start to feel like, oh, this can be fun. This is exciting. And I say that because of his personality. He does feed off quite a bit on other people's energy. If you are crying, he's going to be crying. If you are sad, he's going to feel sad. If you are reassuring, and if you are flexible and really happy and silly and laughing, and if you are having a good time, he is more likely to be having a good time. So that is really what we're looking for. I like to call it an adventure buddy, because really the sky is the limit. You guys can do anything. Go to parks, go for walks, have picnics. I mean, the more variety, the more fun you bring to the table, the more fun and the better it is going to be for Max. So one thing to know though is, because he does have anxiety, he's really sweet, and he's really interested in being with other people, but he may resist the fun at first. So you may hear a lot of, I don't want to, no thank you, I'd rather just stay home, maybe later. Like today, he's actually going to go out with somebody, and he loves to go out to eat. But already he's like, are you coming with me? Are my brothers coming with me? I'd rather just stay home. And it's only because he's not as familiar with this person. He has met her, but they haven't hung out a lot. And so that little bit of anxiety is coming. And I know the more time he spends with her, that's going to dissipate very fast. But it's just good to be aware, because he may need a little reassurance. All right, I'm looking at the time. I don't want this video to be too much longer, but one other thing that's really good to know about Max is you do also need to bring a lot of patience to the table. Because Max has that speech and language delay, he will initiate a lot of interactions in the same way. So he doesn't have a lot of different language forms, and so he will ask you the same question probably 15-20 times, and it's not that he wants the answer to that question. What he's trying to do is just initiate with you and initiate a connection. So, well, sometimes, and other times he is asking the same question. Like, you might hear him say, what's next? That's to soothe his anxiety, because he really does need to know what the plan is. He likes to be reassured of that. So that's also good to know about him. Okay, so that was a lot of information. But that's pretty much the position. It's a fun position. We're really paying you to be a fun buddy. That's what we're hoping for Max, that the more fun you have, the more fun he's gonna have. And we're hoping for you guys to almost become good friends and build a really good connection and have a good time together. So if you are still interested in the position, please think about all of that information. Let us know. You can give me a call or a text. My number is 845-702-7794.